Now we'll examine in particular how a positive externality or an external benefit impacts welfare within a market. Recall that when externalities exist, markets do not result in the socially optimal outcome or efficient outcome because consumers and producers fail to take into account the full cost or benefit of their actions. So when it's an external benefit, that means that we're not taking into account the full benefit of our actions. In other words, the market will underestimate the true benefit of this product. To try to correct for that, we will develop our marginal social benefit curve, which is equal to our demand curve plus the marginal external benefit. That's a lot of big words there. You're using that word marginal here over and over and over again. So I'll just remind you that marginal just means for each additional unit. And we always want to make decisions on the margin in economics. And so that's why we're comparing marginal benefits to marginal costs. So why is the marginal social benefit equal to demand plus the external benefit? Because demand, that represents the private benefit, the benefit to consumers of having this product. So adding together the benefit to consumer, the private benefit, and the external benefit gives us the total social benefit of this product. Graphically, you can see that we've taken our demand curve here and just added on the marginal external benefit. So we've shifted demand up vertically by the amount of the external benefit per unit. Now here, the area between these two lines is constant. In other words, the two lines here are parallel, meaning that our marginal external benefit is constant. And all of our examples in this class will have a constant marginal external benefit. Okay, so now let's start to investigate what this means for our market. Of course, supply and demand will indicate the market equilibrium quantity. Which I usually just denote with that little star. However, you can see here that the market is going to yield a smaller amount than is socially optimal. So if I compare my total social benefit, good is worth producing, all the way out to this quantity, where our supply curve intersects the marginal social benefit curve. So what's best for society to do it if the benefit is bigger than the cost is to produce at this socially optimal quantity. But the market will not be able to achieve that quantity because the consumer doesn't take into account the external benefit. So the private decisions of consumers and producers yield only this smaller market equilibrium quantity. All right, so let's write down some of these key takeaways. We want to produce as long as the marginal social benefit is bigger than the marginal social cost. Here, because we have a positive externality, the unrestricted market produces too little because it doesn't take into account the full benefit of production. or consumption, right? And this results in a lower level of total surplus than could be achieved at the socially optimal quantity. Recall that socially optimal means maximum total surplus. So we know that total surplus is higher at this quantity than at the market equilibrium. The next question is how much higher, right? So what is the deadweight loss in the free market that results from the externality? This is a bit of a complicated question to show on this graph. By adding together consumer, producer surplus, and the externality. I want you to focus just on finding the deadweight loss triangle. So I'll explain where that is here. And I'll also post some slides on the Brightspace page so that you can investigate further why this is the deadweight loss triangle. The deadweight loss triangle is going to be this triangle here, because this triangle represents the surplus that you could achieve at the socially optimal quantity that you do not achieve at the market equilibrium quantity. Area between the marginal social benefit curve and the marginal social cost curve, in this case, just the supply curve, that is not captured at the market equilibrium. So our deadweight loss triangle here will equal 1/2 times, remember the height of the triangle is the marginal external benefit, the distance between those two lines, demand curve and the marginal social benefit curve. And the width of the triangle, the horizontal distance, is the difference between the socially optimal quantity and the market equilibrium quantity. So you can use that as a rule of thumb for calculating deadweight loss when we have positive externality.